Welcome to the Safe Wheel live stream where I share my real P&L on 3 accounts and teach my proprietary Safe Wheel options trade for free. And the system is currently up 4.8% this year to date. Post in the chat that you can hear me okay. I want to make sure that my audio is working. So let me know. Also, be sure to post any questions you might have so I don't end the broadcast before I get to your questions. All right. I'm going to kind of go a little bit slow right now, make sure that you guys can hear me. I want to make sure I get that in the chat. Sound is good. Okay, thank you, VFX Trader. Thank you. All right, I'm going to get into the earnings edge. What happened last week? Last week I traded BABA. Was coming into earnings. It's coming into earnings this week. So I traded it last week. Thank you, Charles. And this one profited $495, which was good. I mean, we're trying to hit a bigger winner than that, but kind of felt like that was about the most it was going to pay out. And it looks like I was probably right. But still, that's a good, decent payout there. Overall, let's talk about the earnings edge. We started trading this in January of 2022. Started with $5,000. You can see my account now is $9,623. I have not added any funds to the account. This is purely from trading and obviously includes commissions. Up since inception, 92.5%. Largest drawdown, though, you got to think about this. There's drawdowns with this system, minus 46.7% from peak to trough. The S&P over the same time frame is down around 13% and saw a 26% drawdown. So vastly outperforming the S&P. In 2023, the system's up 17%, with the S&P's up 7.29. And also, so the earnings edge, one of the things about it is that I do have an alert program where I alert my students and tell them what trade I'm going to get into and what trade I'm going to get out when I get in and out. But when you include those fees, it gets a little harder or a lot harder to be profitable. So what I did was release the course. And so the course is now available for anyone that wants to get access to it. And you can trade this on your own. You can also create a lot more occurrences. I only do about 3 to 4 occurrences a month. I mean, you could probably do up to 10 occurrences a month if you have the system yourself, and therefore, with the statistics, you're probably going to be making more. But I can't guarantee anything, of course. But there's a link in the description for the Earnings Edge course and for the alerts. All right, let's get into the Premier level 5. Now, this is when you get what I would call maybe a significant amount of money, $30,000. I'd say, okay, it's time to start getting conservative. If you have, 4,000, 3,000, 10,000, I'd say it's time to be more risky. Try to get that account up to 30,000, maybe 35,000, and then take 30,000 of that and be conservative. And then you can keep 5,000 of that and try to be more risk, create more risk with it. Like the earnings edge is more risky. So the Premier level 5 is when you want to get, when you get conservative. So we trade the ES options on the ES with this system. I started this on April 8th, 2022 with $30,000. You can see it's up to 35,703. Up, let's see, up about 6.5% this year, 2023. But overall, up around 18 to 20% overall since inception. Now, that's compared to the market, again, down around 13% since the inception of this. And, you saw a 26% drawdown with the market. And with this, you've probably seen about a 5% drawdown. So, up 20%, 5% drawdown versus down 13% and a 26% drawdown. So it vastly outperforms. Good way to get conservative. And it's really a way to use options to be more conservative with your portfolio. That's what the Premier Level 5 is. Now, with this system, I also have the alerts, and those are relatively inexpensive compared to how much money you make. So I'm not really worried about the value in that one. This has value to it with the alert system, even if you pay the fee. But I also do make this trading system available to where you can trade it on your own, and that is my mastermind. And I originally was going to have 5 spots open for my mastermind. This is starting in July, but now I'm going to have 10 spots, and 7 people have already joined, so there's only 3 spots left. And this is where I go in and individually teach you how to trade this system. And we have weekly Zoom meetings, and I answer all the questions and everything and exactly how it works. And that again is a link in the description for the mastermind. Okay. So now, also one thing, there's a few more people starting to share their P&L now, which is really good. I think that I've kind of helped influence this space a little bit, and that's awesome. There's nobody with a real track record yet. I mean, I've been doing this since 2019, and you've been able to see my P&L. So what is that? 4 years, a 4-year track record on YouTube. So, you know, if there's an instructor and they don't share their P&L like on a consistent basis, I really would be leery about what they're doing. I've seen a lot of people out there. They look like they're making money. They're instructors. It looks great, but then their actual P&L, they're not making money at all trading. Okay, let's get into the safe wheel. Get to the correct account. And you can see the safe wheel account, I started with $5,000 in January 2022, and it's currently 354, up around 23% since inception, with the largest drawdown of 4.8%. And again, outperforming the S&P. The S&P is down around 13%, had a 26% drawdown. This year to date, actually overall, since inception, this thing's up around 26%. This year to date, up 4.8%, largest drawdown 3%. So actually underperforming the S&P this year, because the S&P is up 7.29 and only a 1% drawdown. So the S&P is doing pretty good this year with minimum drawdowns. But overall, the system's outperforming again. And this is one I give away for free. If you watch my live streams, you'll understand it, and you can see exactly what I do in every scenario. And also, I do have every scenario lined out in a flow chart, and that's available just for $89. How to pick the right stock, and then the exact system, how it works, just $89. That's just a quick way to get it. And but you can watch me and you can learn it for free. So what am I going to do next? Let's take a look at my position. So I'm trading Uber, and one of the things about Uber, as far as picking the stock, one of the criteria I use is the IV. Let's look at that IV. When I'm looking about the IV here, like 39, 38, 37, 40. So IV is around 40. You can see it's around 45 here. So one of the criteria I have is this is 60 to 100. So the IV's kind of dropped on Uber, and that is just a guideline, right? Because the main purpose is that I can get 1% out of the money. So Uber's trading at $38 right now. If I sold a put at $37.50, that's out of the money. Or $38 is out of the money, right? By 11 cents. I can still get over 38 cents. So that's the main criteria for picking. One of the criteria for picking is the 1% rule. So the 60 to 100 IV is kind of a guideline, and it'll make sure that you can get 1% out of the money for you, enough premium. But it's just a guideline, and I can still get the premium that I want out of Uber. So I know there was a few questions about that last week. Okay, so what am I going to do next? Well, first thing I want to do is make sure that my hedge is proper. So I don't want to. I want to make sure it's not under 100 days because then it will depreciate too fast. Well, it's 123 days, so I'm good. And then it's $30. I want to make sure it's within 70% of the price of Uber. So the price of Uber is 38.11. I'm going to take my calculator here. 38.11 times 70% is 26.67. So it's above 26, 27, let's call it. So my hedge is close enough to the money, and it's over 100 days until it expires. So it's good. It's a good hedge. I'm going to keep it. If I were to remove this hedge, I would be basically starting the whole trade over, and I could change stocks at that point. Okay, so now that I know my hedge is good, I'm going to go ahead and move on with kind of more of the traditional wheel. And one of the ways I do the wheel is I like to go into the nearest expiration cycle, the one that expires in 4 days. Okay, so that's coming up. And I want to sell a put out of the money, and I want to make sure I get at least 1%. So the 37.50 isn't quite, it should be worth $37 or more. That would be the 1% rule. So it's not quite enough premium. And the 38 is just out of the money. You can see it's 8 cents out of the money. So I'm going to go ahead and sell the 38. So I might get assigned. I'm pretty close. So I might come in here and be assigned next week, which is fine. That's okay. That's how the system makes money. Now, as far as sizing, I'm between $5,000 and $10,000. So I do 3 put hedges and I do 1 contract. If I had $10,000, I would do 6 put hedges and 2 contracts. So that's a sizing. So I'm going to go ahead and sell 1 put, collect some premium. You can see the mid price is 53. I'll try to get 54. You just never know. I'll probably have to move it. See if I can get 53 cents or $53. Yeah, $53. Okay. So that's the traditional wheel. But also there's another part of this system that's a little bit different, and that is I want to protect my hedge. If this Uber just shoots up higher, my hedge is really going to lose. So I'm going to buy something just in case. Something around, I won't pay more than $6. And you can see here, this is 7/8. I'm going to buy a call. So it looks like the 41 call. Probably get it for $4. I'm just going to buy 1. So I'm going to hedge my hedge for $4. Okay, so now I have my wheel on for the week. And I think this, since I opened it, I'm down around $31. And you can see I've only been trading Uber this year, up $317 year to date. So the wheel is doing pretty good. What did I say? I'm up 4.8% in 2023. So, and overall like 26%. So it's doing really well. And so there you have it for the safe wheel. That's what I'm going to do there. And let me go through my notes here. Post any questions you guys might have. I'm definitely available not only for the safe wheel, but just any questions in general about options. I know quite a bit about options, not from an academic point of view per se, but from a point of view of how do you make money with options, right? Isn't that the most important thing anyways? So I'm just going through my notes here. Also, if you would follow me on Twitter at Carl Dom. Don't forget to do that. And also hit the like button and subscribe. And also, if sometimes people don't know where to find this live stream, and the only easy way to get to it is to subscribe and then hit the notification bell. That way you're notified when it comes up, and you'll have a link, a direct link to go ahead and hit and get to it. Okay, so let's talk about any questions I might have. Don't really see much questions here. You can hear me, but Dave says, Tastyworks does not have the account balance chart or monthly P&L, so it's difficult to track without doing it manually. I think I don't have Tastyworks, or I do have a Tastyworks account, but I don't use it. There's no money in it. It's just have an open account with nothing. But I have seen stuff with Tastyworks that shows the account balance. So there might be ways around that. If you play around with the platform, I think that you'll be able to see those items on there. Or you can actually get a hold of them. I think they're pretty good about getting back to you and sharing with you or answering your questions. Walter says, just joined Twitter. How often do you check it? I check Twitter once a day. When I originally opened up my Twitter, I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago, I wanted to use Twitter to see if I could look at other instructors and kind of gauge. I wanted I thought Twitter was about, you know, talking back and forth interaction. And so I was going to have some interaction with other instructors. And so the first question I would always ask them is, do you believe instructors should share their P&L? And I think I've tried to interact with maybe 20 different instructors, and I think maybe two have or three have responded. So they just ignore me. So what I've kind of figured out on Twitter is that it's kind of a one-way street. I mean, Twitter's supposed to be a two-way street. And so that's what I thought it was. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get some interaction with other instructors, but they don't talk to me. They don't want anything to do with me. I think they might be afraid of me, and they just don't want to interact with me because I guess it doesn't do them any good. All they do is put out content and try to get followers, and so it's kind of a one-way street. That's what I've kind of figured out with Twitter. So I don't try to interact with a lot of instructors anymore because it's just a waste of my time. It's actually easier to get instructors to interact with me if I make a comment on their YouTube channel, or if I do a review on them. Of course, I might get some type of reaction from them, but they typically don't want to talk to me. I guess I have a reputation, or they come in and take a look at my channel and they're like, oh, I don't want anything to do with that guy because I don't want to share my P&L. I don't want him to talk about my real trading results. So I've ran into a couple guys that actually show their real trading results and they're okay. They talk to me and they're fine. And I don't say anything negative about them. They have no reason to be afraid of me. But the guys that don't show their P&L, they probably should stay away from me. And that's what they do. And unfortunately, Twitter is not the medium that I thought it was. But I still tweet on there what's happening with the safe wheel, because on Fridays I don't do a video, but I'll let you know what I'm doing with the safe wheel, because on Fridays I always have to make a decision on this long call on whether I'm going to go ahead and sell that long call or whether I'm just going to let it expire worthless. The long call that I just bought there, I'm talking about the one for $4. This $41 call on Friday. I'm going to towards the end of the market, towards on Pacific time, around 12:30. When the market's going to close in about 30 minutes. I tweet what I'm going to do with that call, whether I'm going to sell it or let it expire. So that's one reason to follow me on Twitter, to kind of keep up to date on the safe wheel. Plus, if anyone asks me questions or anything, or there's interaction every once in a while on there. Neil, I've heard elsewhere that Skew is really up relative to where it has been lately. What does that mean as far as our options trading plays are concerned? Well, it doesn't mean much at all when it comes to the safe wheel or the earnings edge. That has no effect on that, really. But when it comes to the Premier Level 5, Skew is relatively significant. And through 2021, Skew slowly and methodically dropped. It's not really Skew, but concavity. So the difference between Skew and concavity, Skew is the 2 points on a system and how they relate to each other. And concavity is 3 points and how 3 points relate to each other in terms of, let's say, price. So the price of one might be $1, this one might be $2, then the price of this might be $1.50, this might stay at $2, and so the Skew kind of changes. That's kind of the way I think about it and the way that I teach it. So the concavity or the skew has a big effect on the Premier Level 5. And like I said, in 2021, the skew consistently was going down, or the concavity was consistently going down, which was good for the trade after you got in. Currently, the skew or concavity over the last couple months has been kind of slowly rising. And so the Premier Level 5 and the Synthetic Dragon have been kind of slow to hit profit over the last couple months. And that has a lot to do with it, the skew and concavity. But if you get into my mastermind, I'll get into that real detail on how to, you know, I'll answer any question and every question about that, and the details on how it affects the Premier Level 5 and how to take advantage of that, because I set up the system to take advantage of the concavity or the skew. Neil says, not a real fan of Twitter. I'm not really either. I mean, I thought it was a two-way street, but it's really a one-way street. These guys, all they do is just put out content, put out content, put out content, and they don't pay attention to anyone that asks them any questions or anything. They just keep putting out content, hoping to get more and more followers. And then every once in a while, somebody buys something from them, even though they don't share their P&L. That's what I've found on Twitter when it comes to trading. And there's actually less, it seems like to me, there's a lot less instructors or options traders or stock traders, a lot less on Twitter compared to YouTube. YouTube seems to have a lot more. David, what's wrong with the short option strategy for earnings? Short option strategy for earnings. Aren't you still taking advantage of the decrease in implied volatility? Okay, so statistically, that would probably work out okay, being just short premium, going, and going through the event, and the event has that volatility crush. I actually had systems set up like that way back in like 2014 and 15 that I was trading. But what I found is I like the symmetry, I like that you can win big and lose small. That's kind of some of the advantage of buying options. But I do take advantage of the decrease. What I take advantages of is the fact that going into earnings, you have a increase in implied volatility over time. So for example, if something is going to go into earnings next week, if I buy something that's going into earnings next week, it'll hold its value. And so that's one edge. And then there's another edge where you sell other things that are not going to hold their value, and you sell those against it. And those things depreciate very quickly, which also help your position not really lose money. And you're just hoping for a big move in the stock. And if it doesn't move big, you don't really lose a lot. But if it does move big, you make a lot. And so that's one of the ways that I like to take advantage of earnings. And that's what I do with the earnings edge. But the decrease implied volatility portion of it, no, don't necessarily take advantage of that particular edge going through earnings. That's not part of the earnings edge, and that's not how I trade today. But a lot of people do it. I remember Tasty Trade. Tom Sosnoff traded a short strangle on one of those, not Coca-Cola, but one of those, I can't remember the name of it, Monster. So he was short at like $100, strangle around $100, maybe sold to 105 and the 95. And when earnings came out, they got bought by like Coca-Cola, and they went from 100 to 200. So here he was short the 105 call, trying to make, $2. And that sucker went to $200 and just stayed there. It did not move, would not, because it was a takeover bid. And he never recovered off of that. I mean, he lost, 90x or 50x his trade. So that's why I don't really like going short premium. If you go short premium, definitely want to buy longs behind it, like an iron condor type thing, rather than a short strangle. do not want to be short options naked. Just don't do it. I mean, that is just a rule. Never be short options without some type of hedge behind them. That's my rule. You guys can have your own rules, but definitely you don't want to be caught there. Okay, so I don't see any more comments or questions. I am going to start winding down the broadcast. One thing I always like to say, if the P&L is not real, what else are they trying to conceal? All right, I'll be back next week.